Bitcoin is making history right now. Overnight, over the weekend, we saw Bitcoin trade to $123,000, making it the highest point it has ever traded to ever. And on this channel, week over week, we have been waiting and watching for new all-time highs. They're finally here, and price action is starting to feel a lot more like the bull markets we've seen in the past. So far over the last 3 years, our climb has been slow, it's been grindy, and largely under the radar for the most part. We haven't seen hype-driven retail or the telltale signs of a top being close. So where is Bitcoin going next? Why is TradingView loading so slow? Where is Bitcoin going next? And what's the next move? The thought on everyone's mind. It's a good question. We're going to look into that. We're going to explain how or why we were looking for further all-time highs here into this week, into this month, into this quarter. And we're going to look at what those signs maybe are telling us comes next. Remember, trading is not an exact science. It is largely RNG based. You can never truly know what happens next. All we can do is find evidence, make our best guesses, and bet in the directions that we think it's going. So without a further ado, I appreciate everyone tuning in today. I know some of you feeling hype. If you are a new crypto person, if this is your first time tuning into our channel, or even, I don't know, looking into Bitcoin, let us know. Let me know. I'm curious if we have any new people here, any maybe hype-driven, FOMO-driven, I don't know, viewers for the first time in what feels like forever. Make sure you smash the likes and subscribes during this stream. Help YouTube push this video out. We're going to get into a lot of spicy, exclusive charts you're not going to find elsewhere. See, we just saw that number roll over, or did we? It's frozen over here. It's rolling over on my screen. Cool. That's just how this works when you're live. That's just how it works. We're going to jump into a lot of stuff here. A lot of you may not understand, or maybe it gets a little too complicated. Feel free to ask questions. I'll do my best to explain along the way, and I'll try to troubleshoot what's going on. I don't know. And yeah, there we go. At the same time, I got it. See, I know what I'm doing. Like, subscribe, check out the links in the video description below. Help support the channel. We have some great exchange partners and tools of trading and things like that down there. So let's jump into it. Let's jump into it, guys. What do you think we're doing, up or down next? I'll tell you my opinion. Let's take a little peek here. Take a little peek at our chart. Lots on here. Tons going on. We're going to simplify this. Going to simplify it. Since May, Bitcoin has basically ranged at all-time highs and virtually at all-time lows for hype. It was actually today that I saw CNBC for the first time put on some kind of news price Bitcoin-related thing, and that actually scared me a little bit. It's never a great sign to see mainstream media not necessarily talking about Bitcoin, but talking about the price specifically, and their main headline was like, Bitcoin breaks 120K, blah, blah, yeah. Maybe that means people are paying attention. I kind of doubt it, but that is why I'm curious to see if we have any new viewers coming in today, maybe off the back of a little mainstream hype here. So let's see. We streamed pretty much every day last week. On Wednesday and Thursday, we got some explosive upside candles that we have not seen, honestly, in this sustained manner in a very long time. We've had very brief periods of moving up in May, even in April, with these 1 or 2 days of just up, followed by long periods of sideways. Finally, breaking our all-time high, putting in some price discovery here. Bitcoin is finally acting like we have seen it act, I'd say, more akin to 2021 or maybe even 2017. Last week, we were looking for a logical upside target. It seems, unfortunately, we have tapped that target, and for today, price is retreating. Using our Fibonacci retracement tool, very easily selecting our range high, dragging it to April's low, and simply looking up towards our 1618 extension, we see $121,450 right here. This is the natural, just typical upside price target we look for when a range is broken. Bitcoin so far responding, actually, I would say pretty well to this. I do not love this top wick coming in right now, but the daily is still green. We are still seeing a total, or we are still seeing a positive for the day. We even had a little slowdown there on Saturday. So we're going to be paying attention to today's open. I'm going to mark this on our chart here at 119,130. So we're currently about 1% above that. You may have seen on Twitter, I did take a DGen long last night. I just threw it up on Twitter, and I already had to close it, unfortunately, because it's like basically here. I'll find that for you later. We'll keep on the charts. This is the logical place to see Bitcoin at least chill for a little bit. However, I need to say that during these kind of explosive upward events that we see during bull runs, there really are no rules. There is no it's too overheated. There is no it needs a healthy pullback. These things can be true, but Bitcoin just largely ignores them when it gets hot. We have had so much time over the last 3 years since the $15,000 low. Man, that seems so long ago. In 2022, we've had so much time over these almost 3 years of sideways movement. This is, I would say, the logical or maybe obvious next play for Bitcoin. I would love this to not be true, and eventually it won't be true. Like I said, Bitcoin does not listen to rules. It doesn't have to do anything, but we look back on our charts, and this is basically just what we do as chartists, as analysts, is we look and see what has happened, and we try to use a recency bias to project that out into the future. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But each year we have seen big moves to the upside and then long 6-month periods to the right. This has largely kept hype in check. It has kept new interest, I would say, at a minimum or bear market low. Virtually no new people joining the space, even though we are putting on such extreme gains. This is the logical next step. I won't say necessarily here at 121. That's not really what I'm looking for exactly today. I think we have more upside coming, and we'll get into those targets too. Let me see actually what this last one did. Yeah, 1618, almost said 2. Yeah. All right, good. Just double checking my math here. But eventually, this is the logical, I think, next move here. Yeah, we'll get to that next upside target, and then unfortunately, probably sideways. But I think we have some more spice here in this quarter. So this is the logic. The logical next step. What comes next is, well, we're probably going to see more upside. We may see this week kind of consolidate. We'll see how today pans out if we close green. Probably looking for a little bit more in this week, but at least into the end of the month, we have the FOMC meeting, largely anticipated FOMC meeting with a about 50% chance of getting a rate cut. I think we have more upside this month. But then we're likely going to see some kind of consolidation into Q4 of this year. I really think that the highest point in this run comes in Q4 of this year. The good news is the longer we continue on the path we're on, keeping new interest out, keeping retail at bay, I think the higher that number goes. And I would argue that maybe in 2021, a part of our all-time high not being crazy had to do with just how much hype was built up on the way up. It was almost just a cliff upwards. It was just a 90-degree angle up. The hype just kept getting larger and larger and larger until it reaches critical mass and consumes itself. It's kind of maybe the only rule I've seen in crypto and in Bitcoin, especially over the years, is hype does not drive price. If anything, hype is a sign of sickness, an unsustainable acceleration that virtually always marks the top of any chart you look at. Man, I'm not even close to being done with these things. So why were we looking for all-time highs last week? Well, we have a very important chart here. This is the total crypto market cap. This is arguably the most important chart in crypto. You'll never believe where we touch today. And this is going to be a big sign for what might be coming tomorrow and the next days ahead. Total crypto market cap on Thursday, about mid last week, broke out. Let's get rid of all this charts. Broke out. Bitcoin started accelerating Wednesday into Thursday. Total crypto market cap broke its May high. You can see that this chart is different from Bitcoin. It put in its all-time high actually last year and had not made an all-time high this year until right now, until last night. This is huge. I should have started the stream with this. I cannot hype up how important this is. When Bitcoin runs, it is obviously super important, critical for the space, and we see everything else move with it. But this chart gives us more insight. This chart gives us more valuable information, more confirmation of the bullishness that we potentially are about to see. The fact that Total has spent this entire year trading downwards, trading sideways, while Bitcoin hits new all-time highs is mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. This shows us a chart that we will get into here in just a little bit, and I'm sure you've heard of, that Bitcoin dominance has been on an absolute tear, meaning Bitcoin has largely been absorbing all the gains in the market, all the money going to Bitcoin. That's why the altcoin bags, that's why your portfolios may not look great. I actually looked at my portfolio for the first time, I think like 2 days ago in many months. And I was a little sad. I was like, Bitcoin's at all-time high. My portfolio is barely higher. Anybody else have that experience recently? That's because alts are so beaten down. Every penny that enters this space seems to be entering Bitcoin. And that is why Total has lagged behind Bitcoin. That's why we're just seeing it break now. And this is the critical thing. We saw Total break through May's high and extend upward. And we said last week, this is looking for all-time highs. This is looking to continue up to $3.73 trillion. And I thought it happened over this weekend. Literally happened last night. We can see price now taking profit or selling off, whatever you want to call it, correcting, going back to equilibrium, going back to the mean, whatever, back underneath that all-time high. This is crazy. If Total closes above 3.73 today on Monday, that's going to set this week up for some crazy upside price action. In fact, I said last week that if Total breaks its previous all-time high, that is when we're going to see alts go crazy. That was my speculation. Dude, TradingView is struggling today. Is it just me? Is anyone having trouble with TradingView? It's like loading really slow for me today. I said that we would see alts go crazy, and you may have noticed some altcoins going a little crazy here. Look at XRP. XRP touching perfectly our $3 target. Holy crap. Holy crap. Be careful today, by the way. I know you're looking at your alts, you're seeing, oh, they're finally up. Maybe I should go all in. Maybe I should rip open a leveraged position. Be really, really careful today. What we have seen and what we've seen over these cycles is when Bitcoin rallies and the altcoins kind of catch up, they ride that wave. Typically, by the time you see that pump on a coin, it is at resistance, and it is probably at its moment of highest risk and least opportunity for the short term. At $3 for XRP here, for example, I'd be more likely to take profit on long or open a short, not being macro bearish on it, but simply looking for that retracement. Maybe back down to even just 275, 250, somewhere along this path. Be very careful today. That's my warning. But we are seeing alts respond, and I haven't even looked at them all yet. Actually, I probably should look at some more. We're seeing alts respond. We'll get into that a little more later. But this was the biggest indicator for me, and this is going to be, now that it is like confirmed its value here in the short term, or at least in the recent price action, I'm going to be following Total a lot more. The close today above or below previous all-time high is going to be important. And while it doesn't doom everything if it closes below, it gives us valuable insight. If we see a close below, that may lead to a choppier or more kind of retracing week ahead versus the explosive wild growth that we might see as soon as we close a daily or weekly or whatever candle above that 3.73 trillion. This is absolutely bonkers. We called the freaking macro swing low in June. It bounced from there. This chart has been unchanged for a very long time, months. I think back in May, it did blow past our expectations a little bit in May, but it eventually returned to its previous resistance, tested it as support, and it has largely just moved back to the all-time high since then. Long story short, follow Total. Watch Total this week, and especially into today. This is a very, very spicy chart that I'd argue not a lot of people are looking at, and especially not new traders. New traders tend to kind of ignore this because they don't think it impacts them. It does. It does. There were more signs, though. We had more signs and more signals that we looked at last week. We had a lot of alpha last week. I think when Bitcoin gets spicy, I get more inspired to do the homeworks and do the cool stuff. We looking at the value of Bitcoin versus the SPX, or we can just say the stock market indices, etc. We saw a different picture than what we might expect if TradingView will ever load it. Is anybody having this happen? This is really unusual. It's never this slow. Maybe I gotta like close some of these charts. Close some of these alts. We'll reopen them then, though. We'll keep the ones I know you guys are looking at open. Keep dominance. We'll keep that. All right. Let's see if that helps out. I know it won't, but maybe just placebo. Bitcoin's value against the stock market versus SPX. This is interesting too. We what did we just look at? Bitcoin Total. We just looked at total and we said this gives us kind of a different picture, right? The previous all-time high on total was last year at the end of the year. That diverges from Bitcoin. That diverges from what we might expect. And when we see charts that mirror Bitcoin's value, but show us a different picture, value is there. Always look for that. I would say it's a value divergence. When you see something different, but it's still measuring the asset in a fair, non-cherry-picked way, there's value. We saw this in Bitcoin versus stocks. The interesting point that I would make from long ago that would vouch for some of its validity is Bitcoin versus stocks in 2021 at the bull market high at 69,000 for Bitcoin showed a lower high. It was more suggestive of a bull run being over than Bitcoin's price. Bitcoin's price put in a higher high, trapped everybody, trapped bulls, etc. There's definitely value to this chart. And so we looked at this over the last few months. We definitely were watching it back in November. We're watching again in April. But mirroring, I'll say, Bitcoin in a way. Bitcoin's value versus stocks broke to new all-time highs in November of last year. I guess that's also like total. However, the divergence and the tip-off of Bitcoin continuing higher throughout, let's say, this quarter. Back here in May, Bitcoin versus stocks again putting in an all-time high. And while Bitcoin largely doing that as well, this chart gave us a little clearer picture. We saw not quite as a dramatic or scary retracement. I would say this is much smoother, much cleaner on a technical level. This chart probably a little bit more dependable than looking at Bitcoin USD. We saw this consolidate at a higher low after breaking all-time highs, and on the breakout, or even this actually gave us early warnings. Back in on the 9th, Wednesday. No, that wasn't early. It was the same day. At the same day as Bitcoin breaking out in price, we saw this chart begin to head right back to all-time highs, rocketing up, showing almost no weakness. And again today, we see in tandem, total crypto market cap and Bitcoin versus S&P at all-time highs together. This is pretty wild. Now, there were a few other things that maybe didn't suggest the same, weren't quite as bullish. Maybe you could even argue we're a little bearish. Those charts, I'm going to update you on as well, still somewhat indecisive, but somewhat confirming as well. So we looked at Bitcoin versus Euro, which is interesting because Bitcoin versus Euro is still not at all-time highs. If you're sitting there in the European Union, I know it's crazy to think people aren't using dollars. What? People use other currencies? People sitting there in the EU wondering why we're partying, wondering why people in the US are so excited about Bitcoin. Because they still have not seen an all-time high since the 20th of January this year. The all-time high for the euro is essentially 106,000 euros for Bitcoin. Last night, even, I'm actually surprised this did not break. I didn't check this until now. Hit 104.7 and has pulled back a little bit. This is still showing a divergence from the BTC USD, from Bitcoin versus stocks versus total, etc. This is showing a divergence that not all charts or not all things are totally in alignment with Bitcoin at all-time highs. My speculation last week, and you saw me delete them, was that essentially there is an arbitrage play, or there was an arbitrage play for the BTC Euro pair, meaning it was a very low risk, high reward play to look to essentially buy BTC Euro or whatever leverage just back to that all-time high, back to 105.9. That trade wouldn't have closed yet, but it actually has performed pretty well. There's been virtually no drawdown on that. Yeah, 5.8%, very close. And man, this wick getting close to there leaves us hanging, doesn't it? This is maybe the only chart that's not in alignment. I believe there's a few other currencies maybe that are strong right now that also aren't quite at all-time highs, but this I'd say is the major one, and this would reflect those charts as well. This may be like the only Bitcoin chart that is not super duper bullish. And don't get me wrong, it is bullish, but it's not quite full blown, all in fire, send it to the moon vibes like all the other charts that we're looking at here. This could imply, and I think it does in my opinion, that maybe that arbitrage opportunity is still there. Now it's smaller. There's not quite as much to be had. It's only about a 2.6% change to the all-time high. I would actually wait on that, honestly, to see how today closes, see what total looks like, see what Bitcoin USD looks like. But I think that's still there. We had looked at GBP against Bitcoin, and cheers to my UK brethren out there because welcome to new all-time highs, my friend. Literally overnight, 89.5 thousand pounds. That's really heavy. Bitcoin broke all-time high and has sold back off underneath. It's really cool is that this chart, again, kind of mirroring what we see on total crypto market cap, right? If this would ever load anything. Mirroring what we see on total crypto market cap. Maybe we can read this as the dollar is showing so much weakness that we can see it on the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin may finally be large enough that when the dollar shows weakness, it is visible on the Bitcoin chart. That is wild. There's always been correlations that are fleeting. At times we'll see the dollar be weakened, Bitcoin will move up based on it, and that's what we kind of explain narrative-wise. But I think for the first time right now, looking at all these charts, that it is literally reflective of the dollar, the strength in the dollar. Dude, what is going on with TradingView? We stream all the time. We've never had this issue. Look at that. Wild. I'm actually going to put an alert on this. So GBP, I would like to see close above its previous all-time high, just like we looked at on total. Those two things today would be extremely strong signals into this week. If neither of them happen, it's not the end of the world, but it may imply more chop, more sideways, maybe a little bit more raining on the parade, right, than we'd like to see. One more chart. I know. This chart, this one, this is the one. This is the one that gave us the early warning. Okay. When you look, we're doing a lot of comparisons here today with Bitcoin against different kind of perspectives, right? Through the dollar, through the lens of the stock market, through the lens of the total crypto market cap, and through the lens of the euro and the pound. Here is one that we have watched on this channel that not as many people have talked about. But this one, equally valid, and I would say actually cleaner, maybe more decisive and earlier warning. Wow. I don't even know if we can do this today. What is going on? My connection's fine. 450 viewers is bullish. Let's go. Let's go, guys. While TradingView is figuring its shit out. You know what it is? It's that we don't have enough likes. We only have 136 likes on this stream, guys. Almost 500 viewers. We got to get that up. The rookie numbers, even TradingView. Look at that. TradingView is like, that's not enough likes. That's not good enough. Dude, what is this? The most hated rally. Jesus, why it still hasn't loaded? It's still struggling. Where's the little thing where it's like we're having issues? They're having issues, or it's just me. I didn't see in the chat if anybody actually is having the same issues. Pump the likes. That's right, my friend. All right, Bitcoin versus gold. So this is PAXG. PAXG is essentially a centralized pegged token by the Pax peoples that is done really well tracking the price of gold. Let's put it that way. But this is traded on exchange. In fact, this is Kraken. You can trade this pair on Kraken. Shout out to Kraken. Kraken sponsor our channel, by the way. This is tradable on Kraken. We saw back here and in the Crown Crypto group. We have a premium group, by the way, guys. You can check it out if you head to joincrowncrypto.com. I'm going to be adding more value onto this. I'm going to be adding some of my personal time for each person who signs up here. TBDs. I'll give more details about that in the week to come, but joincrowncrypto.com. We talked about this a while ago. So these other charts largely broke out at the same time on Wednesday of last week. When you look at Bitcoin's value for 7th of June, we saw Bitcoin versus gold break through what I would describe as one of the cleanest looking patterns ever. These are daily candles. This goes back to March 1st. These trend lines, so clean, so well respected. I was actually in shock kind of when I looked at this for the first time. We saw a breakout. We were actually doing an exclusive live stream in the Crown Crypto group. That's why I remember to show it when this happened. And I said, this is big. This is actually really big. Of course, this can resolve as just a fake out, right? Then we see that all the time on charts. These patterns, not super dependable. But I said, based on the chart, and we went through kind of the past year, this has been much more consistent. There's a lot less fake breakouts. We see this kind of more well-behaved, maybe because gold is just a more well-behaved asset overall. It's less volatile, tends to kind of respect TA more, I'd say, than Bitcoin. We saw this breakout all the way at the late July into early June into late months are hard. In late June into early July. There we go. Beautiful back test at the start of July and really just upwards after that. This gave us an early signal. This chart still has not hit all-time high though. And what's interesting, again, we're doing this nerdy comparison thing, is this chart seems to be really, really good at not just tracking Bitcoin, but I would say predicting is not even the word. Really good at not giving us as many fake breaks, false signals, kind of like manipulation-y type things. This is so well behaved. We had the 2021, just like Bitcoin versus stocks, we had the lower high in November. We had what I would describe as a much more V-shaped bear market into recovery. You can even just see, go play with this chart. Go play with this chart on your own. It is so clean. Like it is just the cleanest freaking chart. Unlike in Bitcoin, you'll see descending trends, and when they break, just boom, rockets after, man. Bitcoin never does that. Just never makes it that easy. We saw similarities to the stock comparison even into March. So this is, in my mind, this chart seems to be like more kind of in reality, maybe we'll say, more akin to what we see in sentiment, what we see, or what we would maybe think about when we think about the chart. Meaning in March of 24, we saw some hype in the market. That was a big rally, but while it did break all-time high in dollars, it didn't break all-time high against gold. And that fits our 4-year cycle narrative, what we know about Bitcoin better. And in fact, we only have seen, and this is why I said I think it fits kind of the sentiment and what people are experiencing in Bitcoin or in crypto better, is look at these all-time highs. At the end of last year, and for one day this year, we saw this chart break all-time highs. Immediately rejecting, trading right back down into a higher low, and here we go, marching back up. This makes more sense if you think about it. I started this by saying I'm a little worried because CNBC is talking about Bitcoin. That makes me nervous when they talk about the price. But this rally has just largely been ignored. For years, Bitcoin now has trended up. We started this rally at 15,000. We're now at 120,000. That is close to a 10x over 3 years, right? That's huge. And hype-driven retail FOMO just not here. I think this chart reflects it best. I think this is like the map of where we are with sentiment. Bitcoin now has broken again against gold. It looks like it's moving back to all-time high. I would probably bet on that, honestly. Not financial advice. I'm saying I personally would. But this could mean that gold has some downside or that Bitcoin has some blasting to do. I'm fingers crossed blasting. But still, not at all-time high. Just tickled it twice, right back down. Like, this makes sense that we might be maybe the equivalent of where we were at the end of 21, kind of in sentiment. People not experiencing all-time high, not experiencing the typical, Bitcoin breaks all-time high bull run. Watch this chart. We have a bunch of charts we've talked about today that are important, and here's how I would rank them. Bitcoin versus gold is like the final frontier. If it breaks past January's high, if we have a new yearly high on this chart, we should be somewhere near at the footsteps of everything going ballistic, everything melting up. That's what I would rank number one that we're waiting for. Number two, I'm going to go over to total crypto market cap. Like we said, this chart just breaking all-time highs today, closing above its previous all-time high, is going to absolutely send everything to the stratosphere, like the old school pumps. This is, I've been saying for a little bit now, I think this is where the FOMO, where the hype-driven interest begins. It's interesting because, like, if you're looking at this gold, I'm just like thinking now, it's like we're not at all-time highs, so it's kind of like Bitcoin sub 20K in 2020. And that kind of matches where the hype would be. We see low viewership, but we see a lot of like the older OG people returning because they know what's going on here. They know this song and dance, but the new people haven't caught on yet. Man, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the frontier. We saw a little bit of hype. I'd say some hype at the end of last year, and that's when this broke, right? Interesting. Total, let me see. So gold total. And then the final piece, I'd say, of the fiat puzzle coming in here, Bitcoin versus euro. This has not broken yet. It is the last one standing, last one waiting. I know there's other fiats. I know people in chat, but what about the crown? What about the... Yeah, I know. It's the same thing. It's the same concept. They'll likely all break together. These charts showing us a weakness in the dollar, which can be seen and felt really a lot in general. Even though the dollar is having a green day today. So there we go. Not inverse correlated. Dixie up, Bitcoin at all-time high. Amazing. Amazing. They don't need each other for this, but probably not going anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised to see the dollar relief bounce a little bit more, maybe head back into the 99s, but for now, I mean, still stuck in this falling wedge. Dollar weakness being reflected on the Bitcoin USD pair. I think this is the last thing I have, right? This is the last thing I have for you guys. I'm going to get to the chat. CME. CME. I know, you hate to hear about it. You hear about it all the time. CME has left some gaps below it. There is potentially a new gap here into this week. Very, very minor. Very minor. People obsess over these gaps. You know, I don't even think it's not even really worth putting on the chart at this point. It is not, it's like $100, which isn't even 1%. It's like 0.1%. There's like a micro gap here. But it is worth mentioning that CME has left gaps below it almost every step of the way here. That lines up with what we've seen on CME for significant Bitcoin. Dude, what is going on? Why is TradingView doing this? Stop trolling me, TradingView. It's not my connection or anything, because my connection's fine. CME has left meaningful gaps. And in its history, during significant upside breakouts on Bitcoin, it has left gaps as well. For instance, right here was a good one. November of 24. This was a big gap that was left as price exploded. But you can see at almost every turn, at almost every major swing on the way up, we have seen a gap left at that low. People really love to say, well, CME gap's there, so like, you know, wait for price to go there. And you know, that mindset works out a lot. But when it tends to not work out is at the times where it's more important, the most important times, right? Meaning at significant reversals at the bottoms. So if you're constantly waiting for CME gaps, right, for big positions or to position in general, you can see that historically you've missed every single low almost, every major low. This started back in 2020. 2020 at 9.6K. More into March of 23 at 20K, again at 25, again at 30, again at 40, again at 50, again at 60. Wow, we don't have one at 70. 90, 95, 100. Potentially we have one here that's like, you know, microscopic, but we have even 3 just since the low in April. Be careful with these. Be careful. They may all fill someday, but I think kind of betting on them when the market isn't sideways for entries is a bad idea. When we've seen these long periods of sideways, right, for like 6 months, let's say Bitcoin reaches up, we haven't even gotten to that, and starts moving sideways again. They've proven to be decent for chop trading, but you will virtually miss every single move to the upside if you're waiting for these. Virtually every single move. I didn't even do, okay, so let me wrap this up. How long have I been talking? 30 minutes, let's go, a little bit more. Hopefully you guys aren't bored yet. If you're not bored yet, please smash the like button, subscribe. What's up, brother? I can't read your name, but I see you subscribing. Where do I think Bitcoin is going next? Well, I think very reasonably in this quarter, we see 138K. I think by the end of the year, very reasonably, we see 160. This would be a really conservative kind of bull run blow off top target for me. I believe that Bitcoin will go higher, but I'm just going to stick to this for now. If we continue what we've seen over the last 3 years, and I will admit that for the first time, it kind of feels like we are diverging from what we've seen over these years. But if we continue this run, if we continue this grind, and there's no explosive, euphoric, hype-driven event where we see kind of a blow off top, like maybe all of 2021 was, all of 2017 was, we very well could see much higher prices. I'm going to stick by my statement that The top is not in until retail is in, and they're not in yet, period. You know what? Actually, I said 138. Let's go with 127 here. This, I wouldn't be surprised to see 127 and then sideways. A little bit more sideways, a little more waiting. Skip 127 and going right to 138. Really, it's just like everything is kind of thrown out. At this point, you know, if we're seeing Bitcoin return to this explosive bullish price action, all bets are off. Everything we've seen over this cycle, probably not going to be a good indicator of what is going to come. Let's check this out. Low time frame. Lower time frame. From Friday's low to today, or last night's high right here, our 1618 sits at 119.1 thousand. You can see price has trickled down to there already this morning, not quite touching it. Reversing, putting in a lower high, not a super strong looking high here, unfortunately. RSI is down. We may see under 119. Unfortunately, I would have liked to see this continue today. So far, though, everything we've seen can be just a bump and run, can just be resistance broken, new all-time high, price discovery, fill that, sweep that liquidity, fill that gap, whatever you want to call it. Down at 19 and continue higher. If that happens today, we see this run. 125, 127. Yeah, 127 actually is really good upside for now. Really good upside for now. You can see these trend lines. What I did here, if you're wondering what the hell these trends are, I just took the lows from like really small time frames. I just took all these lows. How can I do this more cleanly? From this swing low in June. I just took these lows and connected them and kind of created what I like to look at as like kind of parabolic trend lines. Each one steeper than the last, each one more zoomed in. Any of these individually breaking is not really a big deal. Like you can see the most zoomed in one already broke here, didn't mark the end of the run, price kept going. In fact, I'll even get rid of that one now. But what we have seen is pretty consistent bounces when price touches them, at least so far. One of one. Price came down on Friday and bounced from that trend line. Here we are again today on the hour. Reached down to that 618, back to this previous resistance. And what happened? Prices wicked, we're back above. I like that. I like that it's at least slowed down here. The next one, where even is the next one? This is a pretty major trend, actually. Right around here. From June's low down into, yeah, man. Price is so fractally. Every time I zoom in on this, I think that it is this. I don't know why. It's so fractally. That was a major trend broken. We stayed underneath it. And as soon as we broke this, maybe this one should be kind of highlighted here. As soon as we broke this, price behaved very differently. Let's make this a different color. Let's make it yellow. There we go. As soon as it broke this yellow trend, price began behaving very differently. Wouldn't be crazy to see it back test or come back down to it. But I'm not looking for that quite yet. Not looking for that quite yet. Okay, cool. All right, let's look at some alts and stuff. Let's see, it's 150. It's 150. I got a bunch of shit I got to do today. I got to do voiceovers. Let's see. This is cool. Apparently, we finally had the leaderboard enabled for our streams. Word. Shout out Wick, my friend, #1, my man. Best of Cars, you were here in the beginning. What's up, man? Cheers. Your name's not too familiar for me. Pickle, of course, up there. Bad Saf, my guy. Mr. Pooch. Tom Geese. What's up, Trade Intuition? Thomas Vane, Verhoofty Floofen. Bad Baptist. George Aval. What's up? Dare you to copy trade? Dare you to copy trade? No, thanks. JJ Machek, Moggy Games. Gizkerd. What's up, everybody? We just got this enabled. I don't know what it does. I don't know if it does anything. But the top fans. What's up, top fans? We'll take a look at some alts. We don't have that much time. We'll take a look at some alts, though. Everything kind of positioned for up, I think. Everything looking very good. Dominance, I don't know, though. I don't know if Dominance is really looking for more alt love. I don't know. How do you guys feel? What do you guys feel? Let's take some requests. Let's see what you guys are vibing with. Let me pull up the chat here. Please do me a favor. Double check. See if you have hit the like button on the stream yet. If you're not subscribed, hit that button. Join us. You can check in on some of these trades too. What's going on over here? What's going on with these trades? What's up, boys? What's up? What's up? What's up, Soul? Hey, everybody always wants to look at Soul. Close longs in the red? You're going to close longs in the red? How are you in the red? How can you be in the red on a long right now? You'd have to have longed, I guess, in the last 15 hours. Never mind. I take that back. That's possible. Others market cap. Yep, total 3. So I was talking a lot about total today because I just like to talk about it. But total 3, I'm pretty sure. Total 3 has given us very bullish altcoin vibes. Professor Beans is trying to get out of the room. One sec. There she goes. Dude, what is going on? All right, I'm sorry. I didn't look when I asked. Is anyone having this problem with TradingView? What in the actual F is going on here? Dude, what is this? Fix your platform. Fix your platform. Yours is fine. Let me try just restarting it. Maybe that'll help. I don't think it will. We'll see. It's worth a shot. TikTok. General issues on ISP? Yeah, fair. Maybe that's what it is. There's a lot of storms everywhere. So total 3, similar. All right, I'll give you this. So this will encompass a lot of the alts. I'll give you this. Total 3, and I did look at this. I just kind of forgot to talk about it because I was rambling for a while. Total 3, very reminiscent of what we saw last week on Total. That gave us the breakout signal. Hold up. I hear subscribers. I hear them. What's up, subscribers? What is up, LF Hall? What's up, bro? Welcome. Giving us Total vibes, and that is a great look if you are in alts, waiting for the alt season to begin. Great look. Total on Wednesday began breaking out on I think it was on Thursday or Friday. You have to go back and look, whatever I said. Broke out from its high in May. This was a clear-cut signal. We're looking for all-time high. Look over at Total 3. Look over at the total crypto market minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. You will see the same thing. The same signal just happened. We saw May's high break after a higher low. 7, 8, 9 billion. I don't know what the line is for. Looks like resistance. Looks like good support though. This is an old chart. Breaking out, giving that same signal. So this is a good sign, but it is not surprising based on what we've seen in these other charts today. Okay, dominance. Like dominance could break to the downside and start like a very spicy alt time. I'm not totally convinced of that yet. It shouldn't be far away if it's going to. But really what we're seeing is all of the market, right? All of the market rise. If dominance doesn't drop, if dominance just stays sideways and we see Total 3, right, explode back to all-time highs, what are we really seeing? We're really just seeing alts kind of keeping up with Bitcoin. Alts like riding that tide rising. It is a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. But without dominance dropping, you're likely not going to be super happy by your alt positions because they won't be really outpacing Bitcoin. They'll just be keeping up with it. But this is a great signal. This is the signal we saw in Total that brought us to all-time high last week. Is it crazy to think that'll happen here on Total 3? Not at all. In fact, I would say rather probable. Very likely even to see this. I don't know. This week, sure, it could happen today. It could happen this month, whatever. Total 3 is rocking. Absolutely bonkers. 136K for Bitcoin. Remember your prediction. 135K for Bitcoin first. Haha. Because they both went crazy. What? Oh, you guys are popping out there in chat. Didn't TradingView do that last week when Bitcoin was going crazy? Probably. I don't know. Probably. I don't remember. Last week's a blur, man. We'd streamed so much. F in the bound zone. Let's look. The most important thing for me is going to be this FBTC pair. Let's see what's going on here. Still struggling. Dang. Still struggling here. Doesn't look bad though. Okay. Ethereum against Bitcoin back to its resistance, back to where it's rejected in May and June, where it faked us out, at least for now, looking for lower lows. Back here, what I like so far, higher low. This consolidation reminds me of what we just saw on Bitcoin. We saw kind of a tighter downwards channel paint before we broke to new all-time high. I can think there's an easy way to, that was some big thunder. You guys probably didn't hear it. Maybe part of why my connection's weird. We saw a downward channel before it broke out to new all-time high. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Let's kind of peek here at other time frames, see if we get something. Oh, bear div. That's not the worst though. Ethereum showed a lot of strength coming back up to 0.25. I was skeptical. Closed that weekly above. Okay. I didn't catch this. There may be a cool entry here. 0.24. You have some strong support here on the weekly time frame, 0.24. I mean, you're at 0.25, so this is not a big downside target. But if you see kind of this price action, this falling channel price action continue, maybe it leads you down to 0.24 for the bounce and higher. You have diverged some bearish signs on this high, but I think you can largely ignore them right now. Price moving down, breaking this range low, and then coming right back up to that same resistance is showing demand up to that point. It's showing this resistance being weakened. A move down to 0.24 maybe just paints out kind of a janky looking inverse head and shoulders, right? Looking for that higher low, the back test of resistance. I think what may have happened in reality is somebody looked, did the Ethereum Foundation sell more Ethereum? They tend to do this when Ethereum goes up. Ethereum Foundation loves selling Ethereum anytime it goes to a high. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if they sold some today because it's at a high. In dollars, it is looking good. It has held above 2,920. That's looking solid. Higher high here. This is a more bullish chart than its Bitcoin pair, and that is fine. I would argue really the only thing I'd really look for here is you do have a pretty meaningful or very meaningful trend line that was broken. That led to largely this bearish price action in March of this year. You haven't come back up to it yet. You're very close. You're showing strength into it. You do be looking for some profit taking at 3,300, I would say. 3,300. Where is it? It's like right around here. I think it's from the quarter. There it is. From your quarters, you had a bearish order block. We were talking about 2,500 and how that was likely to be a really rough price for Ethereum to recover into the start. Not into the start of this year, into the start of last quarter. It managed to recover. Here we go. We're trading above. I think we look for this quarter, the quarterly or the yearly open. What's crazy is that Ethereum has a red yearly candle right now, and that is a hella bullish wick. I will give that to Ethereum. Hella bullish wick. Look at this wick. Ooh, my power might go out. Just to warn you guys, this stream may end. That's a hella bullish wick. 1,300. All the way back up to 3,000 here. But it is still a red yearly candle. The real battle, the final battle, if this happens, if this price breaks, Ethereum, in my opinion, has an incredibly favorable chance to go back to all-time high. Favorable odds to go back to all-time high. If it can retake 3,300, I don't think really any of the other prices are going to matter that much. If this yearly flips green, this will be one of the most giga green bullish hammer yearly candles I've ever seen in my life. Until then, though, I think you're going to see a battle at 3,300. This is where if I had rebought, and I did rebuy some actually at, what was it, 14? Something low, something really low. I would look to maybe take profit on like a leveraged position. Maybe look to open a hedge if I was too exposed to Ethereum. 3,300. It's a beautiful, beautiful target. And I think the odds of it touching 3,300 this quarter are 70, 75, maybe higher percent chance. I think you're looking really good. But Ethereum is something. Let me see. Solana versus Bitcoin has still not shown strength, so I'm remaining skeptical on it. However, the dollar pair again, so this is kind of the thing where I'm thinking dominance isn't done. We're seeing the USD pairs move up on altcoins like Solana, Ethereum, etc. XRP, we'll look at XRP next. We're seeing the dollar pairs move up, but we're not seeing the strength against Bitcoin and the Bitcoin pair that I would look for to signal dominance's run being, or Bitcoin dominance's run being over, and for like a real alt season where you're going to see explosive gains. The dollar pair on Sol looks amazing now. It was really, really weak, I don't know, just a month ago. Now it is looking so strong. You have painted a beautiful recovery, all kinds of patterns you could determine here. All kinds of patterns. Our trade played out. You can even see this take profit on the trade was perfect maybe. On Friday and even last night it overshot this a little bit, but returning right back down to 165. You can look for a short here, but I'm not looking for a short here, honestly. I'm not looking to short anything at the moment. The only problem that remains is this 200-day. This is a really specific price that Solana is not passing through yet. This could happen today. Today we could close above. This could change. But this is right at price. 200-day moving average. Significant stuff. You can see pretty much definitive of is it trending up or is it trending down. Back here in October of 23, retook the 200-day, blasted off to all-time high basically. Well, this recovery has been awesome. The time spent under the 200 has been pretty great. And we have seen this. I guess this is why I'm not excited yet. We've seen this in May where price blew up to the 200 and then fell down. Buyers came in early. They set a higher low and sent it back up. But here we are at like the same level. If Solana breaks this, it is easily retesting May's highs. Retesting May's highs, probably looking to fill in some of this price at like 200. Exactly as predicted. That's right. Damn, what else we got here? XRP. Crow. XRP blasting. Let's see. XRP may be bullish against Bitcoin pair. Maybe. The last few weeks it's put on some gains. I don't know if I want to say bullish necessarily in the short term. More so than many of the charts we've looked at. I can give it that. Kind of like a multi-year double bottom going on. Down here at 650 sats. What makes me uncomfortable about calling for like highs is it looks bullish here. You put in higher lows. It's really kind of mimicking the dollar pair anyway. You know, the blast up, the low in February, broke it a little bit, come back up. Is that you're just at like where it's been for many, many years. There's lots of profit taking looking to happen. And there likely was. It's likely what chilled this rally out in January. Lots of profit taking against Bitcoin at this range. You can see for years and years and years, almost its entire existence, it has been around this value against Bitcoin. Finding support there, finding resistance there, kind of just bouncing back and forth, oscillating. That doesn't necessarily say anything about its dollar pair for now because, well, it's doing really good. I would not be looking for a long today on XRP. I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. I don't think $3 is the entry. If you want it at $3 now, but you didn't want it at $2 for the last year, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're going to have a rough time trading. I think that there will be opportunity down in this area. Down in this area. Look at like 250s, plus or minus 10 cents. This would be a really solid technical play. Of course, nothing ever has to happen. It could just blast off, but I think the trade or the play here is even looking to potentially short or take some profits to look to re-enter around that 260 or 250 mark. Wow. Professor Beans is very afraid of the thunder. It's very loud. It's very boomy. But hell yeah. Congrats if you held if you've been stacking XRP lately. This is the caution though. A lot of charts look like this. They've had great runs. They have big green candles underneath them, and they are just right back to major high time frame resistances. $3 is where we saw this close in January. After all the hype, all the energy, it's finally returned to there, but this is where price essentially was rejected or was sold into. Pushed down, flushing hands, but here we are. I would say at $3 is probably the worst like statistical time to look for a long. You're essentially longing the very top. Will XRP trade higher? Probably. I don't know. It's not about that. Just talking about trades, talking about charts. Oh shit. Bruh. Bitcoin not moving. All right. All right. Let me see. You know what? I think what I should do. I hate to do this, guys. What a spicy day. What a spicy, spicy day. But I think what I should do is I think I should end it here. I think I should take care of the doggo. She's not too loving this right now. Make sure you subscribed to the channel, left a like. Join us most likely tomorrow when Bitcoin is spicy again. Check out joincrowncrypto.com. Sign up with the links in the video description below. Help support our channel. You get big bonuses, no KYC with the exchange partners in the video description. Lots of goodies. Anyway, guys, jump in the Discord. I'll see you there. I need to do those voiceovers, and I need to calm down the dog. I don't know. I can hear this thunder is coming through. I appreciate you guys. If I missed your super chats, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. Sometimes it happens. But I love you guys. Stay bullish. More highs coming. Might have a little bit of red before, but more highs.